Now, before I get into the video itself, I want to apologize in advance for my pretty long hiatus from making videos. School was taking a lot out of me. I wanted to officially make my quickie on D-Sponge Entertainment, but I wanted to get more people to check the script. And I was wanting to change the ending of the video, but I just didn't get around to it yet. And during my hiatus from making videos, before Valentine's Day, I broke my leg when getting out of a truck. Long story short, I accidentally missed the bus that day, so my school sent someone to pick me up and drive me to where I would go to my normal program that I go to on that bus. When I got out of that truck, I slipped on ice, fell, and broke my leg. Although, during my hiatus, I made and finished a bunch of scripts for reviews that you'll be seeing soon. I just didn't get those scripts checked yet, and I'm doing a large amount of editing to a script for a review on Thundercats Roar, and I'm not done yet, as well as other scripts. So, in the meantime, I'm going to be doing this video, since the material that I have is completely easy to cover, whereas the other things I'm going to be talking about are more complex in the grand scheme of things. I'm planned everything ahead in advance where I have 3 other scripts ready to go that weren't checked yet, while 3 others are still in the works. So if I didn't get done with those scripts right away, I'll release one of my network reviews, which one of them is on Nightmare Ned. Other than that, with everything out of the way, let's go. Well, it's been a while since I used this avatar. The last time that he used this was in my anniversary Q&A, and the real previous time that he used Gary was in my commentary on Goku Ketchum. So, MrEnter. He needs no introduction. He's one of the most famous figures in the cartoon community that is currently infamous to this very day. Long story short, from December 2019 to February 2020, MrEnter did a series of videos called Nick-O-Rama, where he took a look at every single official Nicktoon. I might as well give my thoughts on the videos for the most part. I really had a blast with every single one of these videos for the most part, and it was actually fun to make the guesses on what Enter's rankings for each Nicktoon would be. Sure, while he did give opinions that I don't agree with in terms of shows he didn't like and shows that he found neutral opinions towards, I do respect his opinion, and I don't mind him not liking a show I like or don't like, as long as he's not misinformed and he explains things as hard as he can. There are definitely videos in MrEnter's Nick-O-Rama videos that I do not like. One of them that I was originally going to cover was his Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles review for the one line, "The animation is really bad because of stilted movements and them looping frames of animation alone," which is the reason why I think that it's the worst of the Nick-O-Rama videos. However, there's nothing else for me to talk about in that video other than that alone. So for today, instead, I'm going with what I think is MrEnter's second worst video in his Nick-O-Rama series, on his review on the Monsters vs. Aliens TV show. Now, I'm not making a commentary on this video because I love the series and franchise to death, and I can't stand hearing other people's opinions on it. That's far from the truth. For the film, I just think that it's okay, while the show I don't like because of how forgettable I think it is. No, I'm doing a commentary on this video because of how misinformed and poorly explained it is. Why is it misinformed exactly? Well, keep in mind that throughout the entire video, MrEnter is going to go on and say that he didn't watch the movie, yet it's going to bite him in the butt majorly in one part of the video. And what do I mean when I said that MrEnter poorly explains himself in the video? Well, let's find out.
Meow. While I still haven't seen the movie, I did look up what it's about, and the general reactions to it. For example, I know that the movie was criticized for very bad animation. Monsters vs. Aliens was criticized for having very uncanny expressions and looking horrendous. As Joe Apocalypse put it, all of the characters look like Mad Max characters. The show manages to carry over this tradition in a frightening new way. I just want you to see some of these clips. Look at how bad this is. This is the worst looking show of the entire lineup. There is no worse looking Nicktoon than this. This is the poorest quality animation out of all of them. 2D, 3D, I don't care. Jimmy Neutron looks better than this does, and that was made in 2002. I was gonna say that this show looks like a very early PlayStation 2 game, but no, I want to show you something. This is some animation from the video game 40 Wings. It's on the PlayStation 1. It was made in 1999, and it looks better than this show. I'm being dead set honest when I say that 90s CGI cartoons look better than this. I bet even Reboot looks better than whatever the heck this is. What happened? Was it a lack of budget? I mean, after Penguins and Kung Fu Panda, I would assume that they'd be given some extra money to play with. Susan looks like a Barbie doll. Like those old uncanny as Bratz cartoons, they look better than this. It's just so plastic and ugly.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you guys in advance that the majority of this video is him talking about the animation and how it looks worse than any other Nicktoon, and that it looks worse than a PS1 game and Reboot. Enter, you do realize that there's more to a show than just its animation, right? I have no problem with you going over the animation and explaining what's wrong with it. That's what a lot of other reviewers do when they're talking about a TV show or movie. However, here's my problem with what MrEnter does it in this video. He's incredibly vague about it. Sure, in part of the video that I showed, he says that the reason why he doesn't like this show's animation is because of it being all plastic and ugly. However, what exactly makes this show look worse than that PS1 game that you showed footage of? What makes this show look worse than Reboot, Jimmy Neutron, and those CGI Bratz cartoons? I can see why you don't like this show's animation, considering how choppy the movements are, and that one piece of animation that you showed where Susan grows and holds the president and that alien in her hand looked very unfinished. However, I shouldn't have to explain what MrEnter didn't. It should be his own job to explain these things, and so that we can get a good idea on why he thinks this way about the show's animation. And trust me when I say this right now, for the majority of this video, all MrEnter spends most of his time on, in terms of his problems with the show, is its animation. Including 3 parts that I'm not showing in this video, where he says that the show is a book that is completely acceptable to judge by its cover, how it's ugly as sin, and that an episode of The Simpsons from 1995 looks better than this. And when he does go on to talk about the other things, they're not better by much, except for him mentioning that Nickelodeon's creators progressively get worse show after show, which I don't have anything to argue about because I see nothing wrong with that statement. But the other things that he talks about, well, remember when I said earlier that MrEnter, because he didn't watch the movie, that something was going to bite him in the butt really hard? Well, brace yourselves, people.
All of the characters are flanderized, everyone has got one character trait. And sometimes it's from the movie, sometimes it pretends the movie doesn't exist. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Susan want to not be a giant and wanted to live a normal life? In this one, she's absolutely super happy to be a giant. It's part of her identity and she gets sad when it's in jeopardy. I'm just very, very confused. It's like they made a Shrek cartoon, but it was about Shrek destroying villages and eating people.
Hey guys, do you remember when MrEnter said multiple times in this video that he didn't watch the movie, including in the parts that I skipped? Well, in this clip right here, that came right back to bite him in the butt. MrEnter, how do you know that the show flanderized its characters when you yourself said in the same video that you haven't seen the film? You said yourself that you only read the Wikipedia article, which only gives you a plot synopsis. I'm not saying that you had to watch the movie, however, Enter, you do realize the reason why Susan is fine with being a giant in the show, right? If you did watch the film, and especially its ending, you would have realized the reason why Susan is okay with being a giant. Because near the end of the movie, Susan feels as if she finally accomplished something by defeating that robot, and she realized that Derek was selfish. I don't entirely blame Enter for being confused because he doesn't know about that plot point in the movie, but saying that the characters are Flanderized is a pretty bold claim coming from someone who didn't see the movie. After that, I didn't have anything else to say. MrEnter goes on to say that he's not going to watch the movie and just read the article when that bit you pretty hard, so that's a terrible idea. He goes off topic to say that the film used celebrities like Hugh Laurie. He says that Hugh should stop using the English accent. He recommends to avoid the show how it has nothing of value and says everything that I said that he would talk about in the ending. So with that out of the way, it's time for me to go into final thoughts. MrEnter, if there's any word of advice that I would give you to do next time, it would be to watch the movie before watching the show when you're reviewing a cartoon show based on a movie that you haven't seen, because holy cow, this was a disaster. Listen, I'm not going to go ahead and say that the Monsters vs. Aliens TV show was good either, because of how boring and forgettable I thought it was, but I can easily go on and on and on about every single issue that I had with your video. When you didn't spend the entire video complaining that the show's animation is terrible and that earlier CGI cartoons shows looked better than this, you go on to be vague about how the movie and show's humor is bad, and you took the show's president way too seriously, as well as going off topic to say that you would have other problems with the movie if you would see it, and when you did go and have a point that did go into detail, it really does show how misinformed you are. I understand that a cartoon show should stand on its own separate from the movie, and you don't need to watch the film in order to watch the show, but if you're going to make statements like, this show Flanderized its characters, yeah, then watching the film is probably a better option. I know that this video was shorter than the others, but I just wanted to give out my quick thoughts in order to discuss upon all the issues that this video had. As I said, upcoming videos of mine are a lot more complex, and this one was a more easy one to do. Anyways, this is Sean S. signing out.